There is a moment that almost nobody talks about, a moment that feels confusing, frustrating, and deeply discouraging. It is the moment when you have worked hard, sacrificed comfort, invested your energy, and yet nothing seems to be changing. You look around and wonder if all your effort has been wasted. You question your abilities. You question your direction. You even question whether the dream was worth pursuing in the first place. What makes this stage so difficult is that it rarely feels like progress. It feels like failure. It feels like standing in the same place despite giving everything you have. The results are invisible. The recognition is absent. The rewards seem delayed. From the outside, it appears as though nothing is happening. Many people assume success arrives with certainty and confidence. They imagine successful individuals always knew they were getting closer to their goals. The reality is often the opposite. The final stretch before a breakthrough can be the most uncomfortable part of the journey. It is where doubt becomes louder. It is where obstacles become more intimidating. It is where exhaustion starts negotiating with your commitment. History repeatedly shows that major achievements are often preceded by periods of disappointment. Businesses that later transformed industries faced rejection. Leaders who inspired millions experienced seasons of uncertainty. Athletes who stood on championship stages endured years when victory seemed impossible. Their stories appear extraordinary now, but during the struggle, they felt ordinary fears just like everyone else. The challenge is that most people evaluate progress based on visible outcomes. If they cannot see movement, they assume there is no movement. Yet some of the most important developments happen beneath the surface. Skills are being sharpened. Discipline is being strengthened. Character is being refined. Vision is becoming clearer. These changes may not produce immediate applause, but they create the foundation for lasting success. Think about the seed planted beneath the soil. For a long time, there is no visible evidence that growth is taking place. To someone looking from above, it appears inactive. Yet underneath the surface, roots are spreading, preparing for the moment when growth finally becomes visible. Human progress often follows the same pattern. Long before success appears externally, preparation is taking place internally. This is why the moments that feel like failure can be incredibly deceptive. What appears to be a dead end may actually be preparation. What appears to be stagnation may actually be development. What appears to be defeat may actually be the final lesson required before advancement. The people who eventually succeed are not always the most talented. They are often the ones who learn how to remain committed when evidence is limited. They continue showing up when motivation fades. They continue believing when circumstances offer no guarantees. They understand that temporary disappointment does not determine final outcomes. Every challenge carries a choice. You can allow frustration to convince you that your efforts are meaningless, or you can recognize that meaningful achievements rarely happen without resistance. Difficulty is not always a sign that you are moving in the wrong direction. Sometimes it is proof that you are moving towards something significant enough to demand growth from you. The truth is that breakthroughs rarely announce their arrival. They do not send warnings. They do not provide advance notice. They often appear immediately after moments when quitting seems most reasonable. That is why persistence remains one of the most powerful forces in achievement. The individual who keeps moving forward gains opportunities that the person who stops will never see. What feels like failure today may simply be the final chapter before transformation begins. The struggle may be developing strengths you cannot yet recognize. The delay may be preparing opportunities you cannot yet see. The obstacle standing in front of you may be much closer to moving than you realize. Every step forward matters, every lesson matters, every effort matters, and the determination to continue may be carrying you closer to success than you have ever been before. Persistence is often misunderstood. Many people think persistence means refusing to change, refusing to adapt, or blindly pushing forward no matter what happens. They associate it with stubbornness. They imagine someone ignoring reality, holding on to a failing strategy, and continuing simply because they do not want to admit defeat. But true persistence is something entirely different. It is not about being attached to a method. It is about being committed to a vision. Stubbornness focuses on proving a point. Persistence focuses on fulfilling a purpose. One is driven by ego, while the other is driven by meaning. The stubborn person says, "I will do it my way no matter what." The persistent person says, "I will find a way because the mission matters too much to quit." That distinction changes everything. When your actions are connected to a clear vision, obstacles no longer become reasons to stop. They become challenges to navigate. You understand that setbacks are not permanent barriers. They are simply part of the process. You become willing to learn, adjust, and grow because your goal is bigger than your pride. Every remarkable achievement begins with a vision that others cannot yet see. Before a company transforms an industry, before an athlete breaks a record, before a leader inspires a movement, there is an idea, a picture of a future that does not yet exist. The challenge is that vision is tested long before it is rewarded. There will be moments when the path becomes unclear, moments when progress seems invisible, moments when people question your choices. Some may tell you to lower your expectations. Others may encourage you to settle for less. Their doubts can become loud, especially when results are delayed. In those moments, persistence becomes essential, not because everything is working perfectly, but because you remember why you started. The vision acts like a compass. It keeps you moving even when the road becomes difficult. It reminds you that temporary discomfort should not determine permanent decisions. The most successful people are rarely the ones who experience the fewest obstacles. They are the ones who remain connected to their purpose despite those obstacles. They understand that meaningful goals require time. They know that growth is rarely immediate. They recognize that every challenge contains lessons that prepare them for greater responsibilities. Vision creates endurance because it gives struggle meaning. Without meaning, every setback feels overwhelming. Every rejection feels personal. Every delay feels unbearable. But when you now what you are working toward, difficulties become easier to carry. You stop focusing solely on what you are going through and start focusing on where you are going. A person with vision understands that today's sacrifice can create tomorrow's opportunity. They understand that discipline today can create freedom later. They understand that effort invested now can produce results far beyond what is currently visible. This is why persistence cannot depend on motivation alone. Motivation comes and goes. Emotions rise and fall. Confidence fluctuates. If your commitment is tied only to how you feel, your progress will constantly be interrupted. Vision provides something stronger. It creates consistency even when emotions are uncertain. The journey toward any worthwhile goal will eventually demand patience. It will demand resilience. It will demand faith in a future that cannot yet be fully seen. During those moments, persistence becomes less about pushing harder and more about remembering why the destination matters. The people who create extraordinary results are often ordinary individuals who refuse to lose sight of an extraordinary vision. They continue moving forward when progress is slow. They continue learning when mistakes occur. They continue believing when evidence is limited. Not because they are stubborn, but because they understand that purpose deserves commitment. The vision becomes larger than the inconvenience. The mission becomes larger than the setback. The future becomes larger than the fear. And when that happens, persistence transforms from a difficult choice into a natural response. You no longer continue because success is guaranteed. You continue because the vision is worth every step, every lesson, every sacrifice, and every challenge required to bring it to life. One of the greatest misconceptions about success is the belief that growth begins when results become visible. People often assume that progress starts the moment recognition arrives, opportunities increase, or achievements can finally be measured. They look at successful individuals and focus on the outcome, believing that growth and success appeared together. What they fail to see is that the most important growth happened long before anyone noticed. Growth happens in the hidden seasons. It happens when you are working hard and nobody is applauding. It happens when you are making sacrifices and nobody understands why. It happens when you continue showing up despite having little evidence that your efforts are paying off. The greatest transformations often occur before the first visible sign of success appears. This is why so many people underestimate their own progress. They judge themselves by results instead of development. They look at what they have not achieved and ignore who they are becoming. They focus on the destination while overlooking the growth that is too. Place during the journey. The reality is that results are often delayed. Success has a way of rewarding preparation after preparation has already taken place. The skills, discipline, patience, and resilience required for achievement are developed long before the achievement itself becomes visible. Consider any person who has mastered a craft. The performance that others admire is only a small fraction of the story. Behind every accomplishment are countless hours of practice, learning, failure, adjustment, and repetition. The audience sees the result. They rarely see the growth that made the result possible. Life operates according to a similar pattern. There are seasons when effort seems disconnected from reward. You work diligently, yet progress appears slow. You remain committed, yet opportunities seem distant. You continue investing your energy, yet visible outcomes remain limited. During these periods, it is easy to believe that nothing is happening, yet everything is happening. Your mindset is changing, your character is strengthening, your ability to handle pressure is expanding, your discipline is becoming more consistent, your confidence is becoming rooted in action rather than circumstances. These developments may not be immediately measurable, but they are preparing you for responsibilities that larger success will require. Growth often feels uncomfortable because it demands change. It requires you to become someone capable of carrying greater opportunities. It challenges old habits. It stretches your perspective. It forces you to develop strengths that convenience could never produce. The reason many people quit too soon is because they mistake the absence of results for the absence of progress. They assume that because they cannot see visible rewards, their efforts are not working. In reality, some of the most valuable progress takes place beneath the surface. Just as roots develop before a tree rises above the ground, personal growth develops before achievement becomes visible. Every challenge contributes to this process. Every setback teaches lessons. Every obstacle reveals areas that need strengthening. Every disappointment creates an opportunity to build resilience. None of these experiences feel rewarding in the moment, yet each one contributes to future success. The hidden season is where preparation takes place. It is where commitment is tested. It is where character is formed. It is where future achievements quietly begin. The person who embraces this season gains an advantage because they stop relying on immediate results for validation. They learn to trust the process of growth itself. True growth means becoming stronger before circumstances improve. It means becoming disciplined before rewards arrive. It means becoming prepared before opportunities appear. This type of development creates lasting success because it is built from the inside out. The most powerful transformations are rarely announced. They happen gradually through daily decisions, consistent effort, and unwavering commitment. While others focus on visible outcomes, growth continues its work in unseen ways. Strength is being developed. Wisdom is being gained. Capability is being expanded. When results finally arrive, they often appear sudden to everyone else. People call it an overnight success. They celebrate the achievement and admire the outcome. What they do not realize is that the visible result is simply the final expression of a much longer process. The real victory happened during the days when nobody noticed, when progress felt slow, when rewards were absent, and when growth continued quietly preparing the foundation for everything that was still to come. Most people believe that success changes identity. They assume that once they achieve a goal, reach a milestone, or accomplish something significant, they will become a different person. They imagine confidence appearing after victory, discipline arriving after achievement, and belief growing after recognition. What they often fail to understand is that identity usually changes before success arrives. The transformation begins with a decision, and sometimes that decision is simply choosing to make one more attempt. There is something powerful about trying again when every reason seems to suggest giving up. It is easy to continue when progress is obvious. It is easy to stay committed when results are visible. It is easy to believe when circumstances are favorable. The real test comes when the outcome is uncertain, when disappointment has already visited more than once, and when continuing forward requires courage rather than confidence. At that moment, one more attempt becomes more than an action. It becomes a statement about who you are. Every decision you make sends a message to yourself. Every choice reinforces a belief. When you stop after a setback, you teach yourself that obstacles determine your limits. When you quit because progress is slow, you teach yourself that discomfort controls your direction. But when you choose to try again despite difficulty, you send a completely different message. You prove to yourself that challenges do not define you. You demonstrate that your commitment is stronger than your frustration. Identity is not formed through words alone. It is built through repeated actions. You become what you consistently practice. A person does not become resilient by talking about resilience. They become resilient by facing challenges and continuing forward. A person does not become courageous by wishing for courage. They become courageous by acting despite fear. This is why one more attempt matters so much. It is not only about reaching a goal. It is about becoming the type of person who refuses to be controlled by temporary circumstances. Think about the individuals who inspire others. Their greatest strength is rarely talent alone. It is their ability to remain committed when commitment becomes difficult. They have learned that setbacks are part of growth. They understand that failure is not an identity, it is an experience. Because they separate who they are from what happens to them, they are able to continue moving forward. Every attempt develops something within you. Even when the outcome is not what you expected, the effort itself creates growth. You gain experience, you gain perspective, you gain wisdom. Most importantly, you strengthen the belief that you can handle challenges without surrendering to them. Many people spend years waiting to feel ready. They wait for certainty before taking action. They wait for confidence before making a move. They wait for guarantees before committing fully. Yet confidence is rarely the starting point. Confidence is often the result of proving to yourself repeatedly that you can continue despite uncertainty. One more attempt. MPT creates evidence. It shows you that you are stronger than your doubts. It reminds you that disappointment does not have the final word. It demonstrates that your future is not limited by your previous results. The remarkable thing about identity is that it changes gradually. It shifts through small decisions that seem insignificant in the moment. A single choice to continue may not appear dramatic, but over time those choices accumulate. They create a person who trusts their ability to persevere. They create a person who responds to adversity with determination rather than retreat. Long before success becomes visible to the world, identity is being shaped internally. Character is being developed. Strength is being established. Discipline is becoming a habit. Persistence is becoming natural. These qualities emerge because someone made the decision to keep going when stopping would have been easier. One more attempt may not guarantee immediate success. It may not instantly remove obstacles. It may not produce results overnight. What it does guarantee is growth. It strengthens your character. It deepens your resilience. It reinforces the belief that you are capable of more than your current circumstances suggest. Every time you rise after disappointment, every time you continue after difficulty, and every time you choose effort over surrender, you become a stronger version of yourself, a person whose identity is shaped not by obstacles encountered, but by the determination to keep moving forward, regardless of them. Fear has a voice, and its message is almost always the same. It asks for proof before action. It demands certainty before commitment. It wants guarantees before movement. It tells you to wait until the risks disappear, until the outcome is predictable, and until success feels assured. The problem is that life rarely works that way. The opportunities that have the power to transform your future often exist on the other side of uncertainty. Fear presents. Itself is protection. It convinces you that hesitation is wisdom, and that waiting is the safest option. Sometimes caution is necessary, but fear often disguises itself as logic while quietly limiting potential. It encourages you to remain where things are familiar because familiarity feels comfortable. Yet growth rarely happens inside comfort. Progress is usually found in places where certainty is unavailable and courage becomes necessary. Think about every meaningful achievement in life. None of them began with complete proof. The entrepreneur who launched a business did not have a guarantee that customers would come. The athlete who pursued greatness did not have certainty that championships would follow. The leader who inspired change did not have evidence that people would support the vision. They moved before proof arrived. They acted while questions remained unanswered. This is what makes courage so powerful. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move forward despite fear. It is recognizing that uncertainty is not a signal to stop. It is often a signal that something important is ahead. Many people spend years waiting for confidence to appear before taking action. They believe that successful individuals must have felt completely prepared before making bold decisions. The truth is often very different. Confidence frequently follows action rather than preceding it. The willingness to take the first step creates experiences that build confidence over time. Fear prefers observation over participation. It wants you to watch opportunities instead of pursuing them. It wants you to analyze possibilities until the moment passes. It encourages endless preparation without execution. While preparation has value, there comes a point when preparation becomes a hiding place. Action is what turns potential into reality. One of the greatest misconceptions about success is that successful people have fewer fears than everyone else. In reality, they often face the same doubts, concerns, and uncertainties. The difference is that they refuse to let fear become the decision maker. They acknowledge the risk, but they move forward anyway. They understand that waiting for complete certainty often means waiting forever. Fear always focuses on what could go wrong. It highlights obstacles, setbacks, and failures. It magnifies challenges until they seem overwhelming. What fear rarely discusses is what could go right. It rarely talks about opportunities discovered, lessons learned, relationships built, or achievements earned through action. Its perspective is incomplete because it only examines one side of the equation. The future belongs to those who are willing to act without having every answer. Innovation, leadership, and achievement are all built on decisions made before outcomes were guaranteed. Progress requires movement. Dreams require effort. Purpose requires commitment. None of these things can be foo. Ellie experienced while standing still. There are moments in life when the next step feels uncomfortable because the destination cannot be clearly seen. These moments test your willingness to trust your preparation, your values, and your vision. They challenge you to move forward even when proof has not yet arrived. This is often where the greatest opportunities are found.
The irony is that the proof fear demands is usually created by action itself.
Experience produces evidence. Effort creates results. Progress generates confidence. The certainty you are seeking is often waiting on the other side of the step you are afraid to take. Every accomplishment begins with a choice to act despite uncertainty. Every breakthrough starts with movement before guarantees exist. Every meaningful journey requires faith in possibilities that cannot yet be fully measured. Fear will continue asking for proof before action, but growth belongs to those who understand that action often creates the proof then. I have been waiting for, and every courageous step forward expands what is possible while revealing opportunities hesitation could never uncover. Every person pursuing a meaningful goal will eventually encounter setbacks. No matter how talented, disciplined, or determined you are, there will be moments when things do not go according to plan. A door will close. An opportunity will disappear. A strategy will fail. Efforts that seem promising may produce disappointing results. These experiences are unavoidable, yet what separates successful people from everyone else is not the absence of setbacks. It is the way they interpret them. Many people see setbacks as instructions to quit. They experience failure and immediately assume they are not capable. They face rejection and conclude they are not qualified. They encounter obstacles and decide they are moving in the wrong direction. In reality, setbacks rarely carry those messages. Most of the time, they are simply information. They provide feedback. They reveal weaknesses, expose gaps, and highlight areas that require improvement. The problem is that emotions often distort perspective. When disappointment occurs, it is easy to view the situation through frustration rather than wisdom. The setback feels personal. It feels final. It feels like proof that success is out of reach. Yet emotions are not always accurate interpreters of reality. What feels like a dead end may actually be valuable guidance pointing toward a better path. Every setback contains information if you are willing to learn from it. A failed attempt may reveal a flaw in your strategy. A rejection may expose a skill that needs development. A missed opportunity may uncover preparation that was lacking. These lessons are not punishments. They are insights. They provide knowledge that can strengthen future efforts. Think about how learning occurs in any field. Improvement rarely comes from doing everything perfectly the first time. Growth comes through correction. Athletes review mistakes to improve performance. Businesses analyze failures to refine systems. Leaders reflect on difficult experiences to make better decisions. Progress is built upon lessons gathered from setbacks rather than avoidance of them. One reason setbacks feel so discouraging is because people often attach their identity to outcomes. They begin to believe that a failed effort means they are a failure. They assume that a mistake defines their worth. This mindset creates unnecessary limitations because it turns temporary experiences into permanent conclusions. A setback is an event, not an identity. A failed attempt tells you something about the attempt. It does not tell you everything about your potential. A rejection provides information about a particular situation. It does not determine your future. An obstacle reveals a challenge that must be addressed. It does not dictate where your journey ends. The individuals who achieve remarkable things understand this principle. They separate feedback from self-worth. They recognize that mistakes are part of the process. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" they ask, "What can this teach me?" That shift in perspective transforms setbacks from barriers into resources. The ability to learn from difficulty creates a powerful advantage. While others become discouraged and stop moving forward, growth-minded individuals gather insights and adjust their approach. They understand that every challenge contains information that can make them stronger, wiser, and more prepared for future opportunities. Life has a way of teaching lessons through experience. Sometimes those lessons arrive through success, but often they arrive through adversity. Difficult moments reveal strengths that comfort cannot develop. They expose weaknesses that achievement might hide. They force reflection, adaptation, and growth. These experiences may be uncomfortable, but they often provide the most valuable. Education available, every setback presents a choice. You can interpret it as evidence that you should stop, or you can view it as information that helps you improve. One perspective creates limitation. The other creates possibility. One leads to surrender. The other leads to growth. The path toward any meaningful goal is rarely straight. There will be unexpected turns, delays, and challenges. There will be moments when progress feels slower than expected. Yet each setback carries knowledge that can guide future decisions. Every obstacle contains lessons. Every disappointment offers perspective. Every challenge provides information that can sharpen your approach. Those who learn to treat setbacks as teachers rather than verdicts gain something incredibly valuable. The ability to continue moving forward with greater wisdom, stronger resilience, deeper understanding, and an ever-expanding capacity to achieve what once seemed impossible. When people look at successful individuals, they often assume there must be a dramatic difference between them and everyone else. They imagine extraordinary talent, perfect timing, unlimited resources, or rare opportunities that ordinary people never receive. While these factors can play a role, they rarely tell the whole story. More often than not, the difference between those who succeed and those who fall short is far simpler. It is one more try. That idea may sound almost too simple, yet it carries incredible power. Many dreams are abandoned not because they are impossible, but because people stop one attempt too soon. They reach a point of frustration, experience disappointment, encounter resistance, and decide, "Day that continuing is no longer worth the effort." They walk away without realizing how close they may have been to a breakthrough. Success rarely arrives according to a predictable schedule. There is no universal timeline that guarantees when results will appear. Sometimes progress happens quickly. Other times it takes far longer than expected. The challenge is that nobody knows exactly when the next opportunity, breakthrough, or turning point will arrive. This uncertainty creates the temptation to quit. Every goal eventually reaches a stage where persistence becomes more important than motivation. In the beginning, excitement fuels action. The vision feels fresh. Possibilities seem endless. Energy comes naturally. As time passes, however, obstacles appear. Results may be delayed. Challenges become more complex. The excitement that once felt effortless begins to fade. This is where many people stop. Not because they lack ability. Not because the goal is impossible. Not because succulent S is unavailable. They stop because continuing requires a deeper level of commitment. It requires the willingness to move forward even when immediate rewards are absent. The remarkable thing about one more try is that it creates opportunities that quitting can never reveal. Every additional effort opens new possibilities. Every extra attempt provides another lesson, another connection, another improvement, another chance for progress. The person who continues gains access to outcomes that remain invisible to those who stop. History is filled with examples of individuals who achieve success after repeated setbacks. Their stories often seem inspiring because people focus on the final victory. What is sometimes overlooked are the countless moments when quitting would have appeared reasonable. Rejection, failure, criticism, and disappointment were all present, yet they continued. The difference was not always superior talent. It was often the decision to make one more attempt, 1 month. Retry develops something powerful within a person. It builds resilience. It strengthens confidence. It creates evidence that challenges can be faced without surrender. Every time you continue after difficulty, you prove to yourself that temporary setbacks do not control your future. You develop a mindset that sees obstacles as challenges to overcome rather than reasons to stop. Many people underestimate how close progress can be. Because results are not immediately visible, they assume their efforts are ineffective. What they fail to recognize is that growth often accumulates quietly. Skills improve, knowledge expands, experience increases. These developments may seem small individually, but together they create momentum that eventually produces significant results. The person who keeps trying gains the benefit of accumulated growth. Each attempt makes them stronger than before. Each lesson improves their understanding. Each challenge expands their capabilities. Over time, these improvements create advantages that are impossible to achieve through avoidance. Quitting offers immediate relief, but it also closes doors. It removes possibilities before they have a chance to develop. Persistence, on the other hand, keeps opportunities alive. It keeps progress moving. It allows growth to continue working beneath the surface. There is a reason so many successful people speak about perseverance. They understand that the journey toward achievement is rarely about perfection. It is about consistency. It is about showing up again after disappointment. It is about learning, adapting, and continuing despite uncertainty. The gap between success and failure is often much smaller than it appears. Sometimes it is not measured by years of difference, extraordinary talent, or impossible advantages. Sometimes it is measured by a single decision. A decision to keep going when stopping feels easier. A decision to believe when evidence is limited. A decision to RY one more time when others have already walked away. The person who makes that choice discovers that persistence has the power to transform obstacles into opportunities, struggles into lessons, effort into growth, and one more try into the very moment that changes everything. There are seasons in life that feel heavy. Seasons where progress seems slow, challenges appear constant, and the future feels uncertain. During these moments, it is natural to ask difficult questions. Why is this happening? Why is the path so difficult? Why does success seem delayed while obstacles continue to appear? What many people do not realize is that their current struggle may be serving a purpose far greater than what they can currently see. It may be preparing them for responsibilities they are not yet ready to carry. Most people focus on receiving opportunities, but very few consider what it takes to sustain them. Everyone wants greater influence, greater success, greater impact, and greater achievement. Yet every new level of responsibility requires a new level of character. The opportunities you desire tomorrow may demand strengths that must be developed today. Preparation rarely feels comfortable. Growth requires stretching beyond familiar limits. It requires facing situations that test patience, discipline, resilience, and perseverance. These experiences can feel frustrating because they challenge existing capabilities. Yet without challenge, development remains limited. Without resistance, strength never reaches its potential. Think about how physical strength is built. Muscles grow when they are placed under pressure. The resistance that creates discomfort is the same resistance that creates growth. Personal development often follows a similar pattern. The challenges you face today may be strengthening qualities that future success will require. Many people believe that success itself creates character. In reality, character is often developed before success arrives. The discipline to manage opportunities is formed long before opportunities appear. The patience to handle pressure is built long before pressure reaches its highest levels. The wisdom needed to lead effectively is often developed through difficult experiences that teach valuable lessons. The struggle you are facing may be teaching lessons that comfort never could. It may be developing emotional strength, increasing self-awareness, refining decision-making, and expanding your ability to handle uncertainty. These qualities are not always visible, yet they become essential when greater responsibilities eventually arrive. One reason people become discouraged during difficult seasons is because they evaluate their circumstances only through the lens of the present moment. They focus on immediate discomfort without considering long-term preparation. They see obstacles without recognizing the growth those obstacles are producing. They focus on what is happening to them instead of what is happening within them. Every challenge has the potential to reveal something important. Difficult situations expose weaknesses that need attention. They uncover habits that require improvement. They highlight areas where growth is necessary. While these discoveries may not feel rewarding in the moment, they create opportunities for transformation. Responsibility requires capacity. The larger the responsibility, the greater the capacity required to carry it effectively. Leadership demands emotional stability. Achievement requires discipline. Influence requires integrity. Long-term success requires resilience. These qualities are not developed overnight. They are shaped through experiences that stretch, test, and strengthen an individual over time. Many people wish they could skip the difficult seasons and move directly to the rewards. Yet removing the preparation often creates problems later. Opportunities received without regard to. A dynasty can become burdens instead of blessings. Success achieved without character can become difficult to sustain. Growth creates the foundation that allows future opportunities to be managed wisely. This is why struggles should never be viewed solely as obstacles. They can also be viewed as training. They create opportunities to practice patience when circumstances are frustrating. They develop perseverance when results are delayed. They strengthen courage when uncertainty appears. Each challenge becomes part of a larger process of preparation. The remarkable thing about preparation is that it often becomes visible only in hindsight. Looking back, people frequently recognize that experiences they once resented were actually shaping them for future opportunities. The lessons learned through adversity became the very tools needed to navigate greater responsibilities successfully. Your current struggle may not make complete sense today. The challenges may seem unnecessary. The delay may feel unfair. The obstacles may appear overwhelming. Yet every difficult season contains the possibility of growth. Every challenge carries lessons. Every setback offers development. Every obstacle creates opportunities to become stronger than before. The future often requires a version of you that does not yet exist. It requires greater wisdom, deeper resilience, stronger discipline, and expanded capacity. The experiences you are facing right now may be building those qualities one lesson at a time. What feels like a struggle today may actually be preparation in disguise, developing the strength, character, perspective, and capability necessary to carry the opportunities, influence, responsibilities, and achievements that are waiting further ahead on your journey. People often imagine momentum as something powerful, unstoppable, and dramatic. They picture great achievements, rapid progress, and a series of victories that seem to build upon one another. From the outside, momentum looks like a force that carries people forward with ease. What is rarely discussed, however, is how momentum actually begins. It does not start with a major breakthrough. It does not begin with perfect conditions. It does not appear because everything suddenly falls into place. Momentum begins with a single decision. Before every achievement, there is a moment when someone chooses to act. Before every success story, there is a decision that seems small compared to the results it eventually produces. The challenge is that these decisions often appear insignificant at first. They do not attract attention. They do not guarantee immediate rewards. They simply represent a choice to move forward. Many people spend years waiting for the perfect opportunity. They wait for confidence to arrive. They wait for certainty. They wait for motivation. They wait for circumstances to improve. The problem with waiting is that progress rarely begins through observation. Progress begins through participation. Momentum is created when action replaces hesitation. The first step is usually the hardest because it requires movement without evidence. It requires effort before results exist. It requires belief before proof appears. This is why so many dreams remain unrealized. People focus on the size of the goal rather than the simplicity of the next decision. A single decision may seem small, but its impact can be enormous. Choosing to start learning a new skill can alter the direction of a career. Choosing to remain disciplined can transform personal habits. Choosing to continue after disappointment can change the outcome of an entire journey. The power of these decisions lies not only in the action itself, but also in what follows afterward. Every decision creates momentum in one direction or another. Decisions repeated consistently become habits. Habits shape behaviors. Behaviors influence outcomes. What appears to be a sudden breakthrough is often the result of countless small decisions made over time. The visible success arrives later, but the momentum began much earlier. One reason people underestimate the importance of a single decision is because they focus on immediate results. They expect dramatic change overnight. When that change does not occur, they become discouraged. Yet momentum is rarely instant. It grows gradually. It develops through repeated actions that build upon one another. The first step creates movement. The next step strengthens it. Over time, consistency transforms effort into progress. Think about a massive object at rest. The greatest energy is required to create initial movement. Once movement begins, maintaining progress becomes easier. Personal growth often follows the same principle. Starting requires courage. Continuing requires discipline. Eventually, momentum begins carrying you forward because action has become part of your identity. The individuals who achieve remarkable things are not necessary. Wily those who possess extraordinary advantages. They are often the ones who understand the importance of beginning. They do not allow fear, doubt, or uncertainty to keep them frozen. They recognize that waiting for perfect conditions can become a lifelong habit. Instead, they make a decision and trust that clarity will increase as they move forward. Momentum also creates confidence. Every completed action provides evidence that progress is possible. Every small victory reinforces belief. Every challenge overcome strengthens resilience. Confidence grows through action because action proves capability. The person who moves forward gains experiences that the person who remains still can never obtain. There will always be reasons to delay. There will always be uncertainties that make waiting seem reasonable. There will always be obstacles that create excuses. Yet history is shaped by individuals who made decisions despite those realities. They chose movement over hesitation. They chose ease. Forward over comfort. They chose growth over fear. The remarkable thing about momentum is that it does not require perfection to begin. It only requires a decision to start, a decision to continue, a decision to take responsibility for the next step rather than becoming overwhelmed by the entire journey. That single choice creates movement. Movement creates progress. Progress creates confidence. Confidence strengthens commitment. And commitment fuels the momentum that eventually transforms small beginnings into extraordinary achievements that once seemed impossible to imagine. There is a powerful truth that many people forget during difficult seasons of life. The next attempt could be the one that changes everything. Not the attempt you made last month, not the effort that fell short yesterday, not the opportunity that slipped away in the past. The next one, the attempt you have not made yet, the decision you have not taken yet. The action you are considering right now may hold far more potential than you realize. One of the greatest challenges in pursuing any goal is that repeated disappointment can distort perspective. When people experience rejection, setbacks, delays, or failures, they naturally begin to question whether continuing is worthwhile. The mind starts collecting evidence from previous experiences and uses that evidence to predict the future. It whispers that if the last attempt did not work, the next one probably will not either. If the previous effort failed, there is no reason to expect a different outcome. This way of thinking feels logical, but it ignores an important reality. Every attempt is different because every attempt contains new experience, new knowledge, new understanding, and new growth. You are not the same person who made the previous attempt. You have learned lessons. You have gained insights. You have developed skills. Even if those changes seem small, they create advantages. That did not exist before. Success rarely arrives in a straight line. Most meaningful achievements are built through a process of refinement. Every setback teaches something valuable. Every obstacle reveals information. Every challenge develops strengths that become useful later. What appears to be failure often becomes preparation for future success. Many people give up because they assume that effort should produce immediate rewards. When results take longer than expected, discouragement begins to grow. Yet some of the most significant breakthroughs happen after long periods of persistence. The opportunity finally appears. The relationship is established. The idea gains traction. The door opens. To observers, the success seems sudden. What they do not see is the long series of attempts that made that moment possible. Imagine stopping one step before reaching your destination. Imagine abandoning the journey just before the opportunity arrives. Imagine quitting on the very day before. Reasonable circumstances begin to change. While nobody can know exactly when a breakthrough will occur, this possibility is what makes persistence so valuable. The next attempt carries potential that cannot be measured in advance. History repeatedly demonstrates this principle. Great accomplishments are often preceded by repeated setbacks. Inventors faced failures before discoveries. Leaders encountered resistance before influence. Athletes experienced defeats before championships. Entrepreneurs faced rejection before success. The common thread is not that they avoided difficulty. The common thread is that they continued despite difficulty. The next attempt is powerful because it represents possibility. It represents a future that has not yet been written. The past may contain disappointment, but the future remains open. Every new effort creates opportunities that did not exist before. Every action expands what is possible. Every attempt keeps the door open for progress. Fear often encourages people to focus on what might go wrong. It reminds them of previous failures. It highlights risks and uncertainties. What fear rarely acknowledges is what might go right. It rarely discusses the opportunities waiting beyond persistence. It rarely mentions the growth that comes from continuing when others stop. The remarkable thing about persistence is that it compounds over time. Lessons accumulate, skills improve, confidence grows, resilience strengthens. Each attempt adds something valuable to the journey. Even when immediate success does not occur, progress is still being made. Development is still taking place. There are moments in life when the difference between success and surrender comes down to a single choice. A choice to try again. A choice to make one more call, submit one more application, practice one more day, refine one more idea, or take one more step forward. Those choices may seem ordinary in the moment, but they carry extraordinary potential. No one can predict exactly which attempt will become the turning point. No one can identify the precise moment when persistence transforms into breakthrough. What can be known is that opportunities remain available only to those who continue moving forward. The next attempt may introduce the connection that changes your future, reveal the solution that solves the problem, unlock the opportunity that creates momentum, or become the moment that transforms years of effort into lasting achievement, proving that everything you have endured was preparing you for what was waiting just ahead.